everyone, and welcome to another episode of Permission To. As many of you may know, I am currently on maternity leave, but I really didn't want to put the podcast on hold. So I have actually handed over Permission to the beautiful Lucy Ann Lewis. So she is going to be a co-host for a couple of months while I am on leave. Lucy is one of the mentor coaches in Permission Granted and a dear client and a dear friend. And I know that I am leaving you in really good hands. This is also an example of what I'm all about, which is receiving support and trusting others. So I am placing my trust in Lucy, and I know that she is going to be a beautiful co-host for while I'm on leave. So enjoy this next episode. You're listening to Permission To, the podcast where we dive into the science and soul of owning your worthiness as a perfectly imperfect human being. I'm your host, Sam Baldock, psychotherapist, positive psychology coach, mama to a beautiful 5-year-old Emily, and passionate advocate for living an inspired life. My aim is to show you that you have full permission to own your worthiness so that you can embrace your true nature and begin walking boldly toward your dreams. Let's dive in.
Sam is an Enneagram coach for coaches and service-based business owners. She is a qualified life coach, accredited Enneagram practitioner, and has recently completed her training in Enneagram for teams. Back in 2017, she was introduced to the Enneagram via a leadership course. Learning her Enneagram type gave her permission to stop trying to fit into boxes that were never made for her and start to embrace her strengths. After having her firstborn, she trained as a life coach and realized what an asset it would be to understand her clients' Enneagram type to support them on a deeper level, and went on to get accredited in the Enneagram. Her mission is for women to understand their Enneagram type so they can have a deeper awareness of themselves and how they see the world, so they can embrace their strengths and start to show up as their real selves in both business and life. Sam is a mum to 2 boys who she raises with her husband on the picturesque northwest coast of Tasmania with their Labradoodle, Millie. Hi, Sam. Welcome.
Hi, Lucy. It's so nice to be chatting to you. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here and that we get to have a chat.
Very
We've
exciting.
been through Permission Granted twice together.
Twice, I know. It's been a very surreal. It's surreal that it's finishing up for the second time now.
It's crazy, right? I can't believe it's over. Like, it just feels like this 10 months, but this whole year has just flown by.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And it's just been so good to have been in the container with Sam for a second time, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's nice that it was a much longer container this time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes you realize when we did the smaller one, how much you benefited from getting that longer experience with Sam, going into those topics on a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. And also what I really enjoyed about the second round and the longer round was that just had a lot of space to go over the material and like integrate it in between the modules.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the circles. I love that we actually got to sit down and do the work together. I think with the first round, we did it a little bit more separately. And I think having that space to do it in a group container, seeing other people's faces as well as getting that chance to journal together was a real benefit.
Yeah, totally. That's why I loved it so much. And I loved that, like, how supportive all the women inside are for each other. Like, it's just such a beautiful container.
Absolutely. I think Sam just attracts all these like-minded women that are just like your biggest cheerleader, even though we're on, you and I, we're in different parts of Australia. We've never met personally in person in real life, but, it's amazing to have that group where we're all sort of going for the same thing. We're all wanting to do that inner work, and get a bit vulnerable together and feel safe in a container. And Sam just has that ability to bring beautiful women together.
She really does. She really, really does. That's I think one of the, Absolutely. Like having Sam support is great and their material is great and the inner growth is great. But what is so great and what brings all that greatness together is the other women that you meet and the community that you create.
Absolutely. And I think it shows that you don't feel so alone in it either, because you're going through it together. You're on that journey together with other women who are, like you say, just so supportive of what you're going through too. So it makes you feel more seen and heard as well.
Yeah, and
Sam
celebrated, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's such a huge part of what Sam's, like, the group of Permission Granted, is to celebrate ourselves and our journey and celebrate each other. And it's a special container, that's for sure.
Sure is. Sam, take us back to Sam a few years ago. Can you share with us a little bit about where you were at and what led you to sign up to Permission Granted?
Yeah, well, I was super fortunate. I stumbled across Sam the early 2020, and I actually joined her Happy Biz Mama group. And
yes.
I was really fortunate with that. I was like, I don't think I've got the time for it. Unfortunately, I want a space in that. And then going through that container, I realized how important to have that community was, and to have those support around you. Especially, I'd only just started my coaching business at that stage. And when you've gone for me, I'd gone from an environment where I worked with people, going to a place where you're like, oh, I'm working by myself every day. Having that container was amazing. And I think as soon as Sam released Permission Granted, I was like, yep, sign me up. I want this again. The only real hesitation I had was the fact that I'd just fallen pregnant and I was quite sick. But I also realized too that I would need extra support in going through that journey as well. So it was definitely a no-brainer for me to sign up and join her community again. And working with Sam, I don't think I've met a coach like her. She just has that ability to make you feel so supported, while still in this amazing sound way of encouraging you to take action, even if you're not ready.
Yeah, that gentle accountability.
Yes. Yes. She just has that ability. You feel like you're like, oh, I'm taking action. And I was like, I don't really know if I want to do this yet. But she just I just feel like she's such an example. And I was just like, I just definitely wanted to jump in again. And then obviously going through Permission Granted the first time, I was like, I knew that the second half of my pregnancy I was still struggling. And so I went, when she said, yep, Permission Granted the second time, I was like, actually, I think I want the bigger version. I think I want the longer. And like you said, the spaciousness of having that 10-month container with beautiful women who I knew, and there were some new people obviously, but we were all going to be on that same journey again. And I think it's a bit indescribable how the support of these women, even just with the Facebook community, how nice it is to have it feeling like a safety net, feeling like if you have a bad day, we could just jump on the community and say, hey guys, I'm struggling a bit today. Can I get some support? And just knowing that 100% of the time you knew that it was going to be there.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I second all of that you said, apart from the pregnancy stuff. I didn't need support with that, but absolutely, everything else, the gentle accountability. Sometimes I found the shifts were almost really subtle, and I didn't really realize that it had been, although monumental, but they'd happened so subtly that you kind of didn't realize that they'd happened. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, hang on, I'm not feeling that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. Did you kind of find that?
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't, like you say, it wasn't huge jumps in transformation. It was just those subtle things that, like you say, in reflection, you're like, oh, I didn't do that, which I would normally have done. Or I wasn't being that, having that inner critic or mean girl talk to me the way, because I'm like, and I honestly had sometimes have situations where I'd have Sam in my head going, what would Sam say about this? And how would she be taking imperfect action and all of those things that I know that honestly, without the support, I don't know that I would have done, and I would have had those subtle shifts. And I know that I'm definitely, all that work, like you say, it's hard to describe the big steps forward, but it's just like those little step forwards that you continually take that actually are a huge big leap at the end of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. All the little things add up to be a big thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great thing about it too, because I think we're all busy and we all have lives and we're all doing things. So it's not like we had all this time to put into the container. And so it's just like the little work was good in the sense that you could just do a little bit and know that you were still moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. So what was your biggest mindset shift inside Permission Granted and working with Sam?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's a good question because I'm not sure that it's just the one shift, like you said. I think it's the little things that all add up. It's the inner child work, the way that you talk to yourself. It's the taking imperfect action. It's finding joy in the things that knowing the importance of actually doing things just for fun. Because when you become an adult and have kids and things, sometimes you're going through the process and you're running your own business and you forget to stop. And so it's those little reminders. So I'm not sure exactly what I could put my finger on being the biggest mindset shift. Although just I think knowing that maybe trusting myself.
Yep.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's trusting myself, knowing that I do have the ability and I can do more than I think I can do.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, and I think that wasn't like one lesson from Sam. I think that was just the combination of all the lessons coming together.
Yeah. So what was your favorite module then inside Permission Granted?
Unapologetically you.
Yeah.
I think it's such a big thing. I think for me personally to really step into myself and my strengths. I think that was probably the deepest one, but I think it's hard to pinpoint which was my favorite, but I think that one, it's just that reminder that we're so unique and we all have our own strengths and that we can just be ourselves and we don't have to show up like anyone else.
Yeah.
I think we sometimes, especially in business, for me personally, it's like we see all these other people doing similar things and like, oh, maybe I should be like that, or maybe I should be doing like this. And then just leaning into like, oh, actually I have all these strengths and I don't need to be like that person or do these things, that I can actually lean into what I want to do. And there were so many different things, and asking for what I needed, that was a big thing for me, learning how to do that. There was just so much. I think there's, like you say, there were those little things that were all added up, but they were all really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually remember the call where you celebrated asking for help, and I remember feeling so pleased for you and so happy that you'd finally been able to ask for the support and the help that you needed. And I was just like, yes, go Sam.
And something you don't realize is I feel like I didn't realize it was such a big thing for me. Like I just, when you feel like I didn't realize it was such a problem for me to ask for help.
Yeah.
As in, I just always thought, well, if I just can do it myself, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it's such a big thing to actually go, okay, well, what do I need or what do I want? And actually asking for that and going, I'm worth asking for that. Totally. I don't have to compromise all the time, and it's okay to follow my desires and what I want, and to be able to ask for support for that.
Yeah, totally. And I think, particularly as women and as mums, it's like there's this like expectation that we to be able to do it all, or like that we have to sacrifice our wants and needs and put our kids first. And it's just like, you don't have to do that. you can ask for help, and you can, go after your joy and your desires without being a shitty mum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was another big thing, the end. Like, I can be there for my kids, and I can get what I want as well. Like, it doesn't have to be all in one basket. I don't have to not sacrifice, not the right word, but I don't have to put it all into my kids. Like me being happy and me finding what lights me up is really important for me to be a good mum.
Totally. It's like an overflow, right? When your basket's full, that overflows into all of your relationships and to your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's giving yourself that permission. And I think that comes down to that whole permission granted. It's like giving yourself the permission to not feel guilty about leaning into your desires and your wants so that you can be that happy person, so that you can be that happy mum for your kids.
Totally. So tell us more about your journey with your life coaching and the Enneagram, and why you think it's important for women to understand their Enneagram. And maybe tell us a little bit about the Enneagram and what it is.
It's a great starting point. So, Lucy, so the Enneagram is, some like to think about it as a personality sort of profiling. Enne means 9, so there is 9 core types, and they're based off core motivation and fears. So there are 9 types, and the idea around the Enneagram is to try and really see how you've been putting yourself into boxes, like I mentioned before, that actually weren't meant for you. So it's really based on how you see the world, unlike a lot of other personality tests where they're like how the world sees you. So you can have 9 different people and they can all have the same behaviors, but they can be motivated by very different things.
Yeah, right.
And so this is where the Enneagram comes in, because when we can learn what we're motivated by and how we see the world, we can see our strengths and we can see our limitations. We can see what we're triggered by, and it can give us some really insight into how others are seeing the world very different to us.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to understand our way of seeing the world in the depth that we do. And so I think there's this, sometimes we go through life thinking that people should really just think and feel and act the same way we do. And then it can get frustrating when they're like, oh, why can't you see my perspective?
Yeah.
So the Enneagram kind of puts some language around that. There's a lot more depth to it than just the 9 types. We've got instincts, and there's the way that you act and think and feel and how that shows up and how strong you are in different aspects. So there's definitely not 9 types. That's what some people get a bit of going, oh, I don't want to be typed into a box. So there's, I know I'm an Enneagram 2, but I know other 2s that are completely different to me because they have different subtypes and instincts. And like I said, they might be stronger in their thinking and they might be stronger in their action than I am. So they show up and they behave differently. However, we still all have the same core motivation. So all 2s are motivated to be, we want to be liked. All 5s really want to show that they're capable. And 9s want peace. They want everyone to be happy.
Right.
And so then we make decisions based on our core motivations down at their core. So it really gives us a great understanding of where we're coming from.
Yeah.
So that we can work through those things based on how we see the world, and not just what our neighbors thinking or what our friends are thinking or doing.
Yeah.
Because we have a different thing. So I started coaching, life coaching. I got into that, and I started actually coaching in my business, and I was working with a client and I was like trying to work out how to connect with her better. And I thought, actually, you know what? Back in 2017, I did this leadership course with the Enneagram, and I knew mine quite in depth. And I'd worked with a coach previously on my Enneagram. I thought, I wonder if she could find out her Enneagram type. So I asked her to do it, and it helped me significantly because then I could see why she was making the decisions she was making. And so then I could support her through that in a way that suited her best.
Yeah.
So I could understand, okay, so if you're motivated by this, I can see why you're making that decision now. Okay, great. And I could ask her questions in a way that would support her best. Like, for an example, like I'm high in feeling. I'm in the heart center of 2, high in feeling. So I will actually ask a lot of feeling-based questions. Like, how does that make you feel as a coach? And I see that as my bias as being a 2, which is really interesting. but I was working with a client who was high in their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of asking her, how do you feel about that? And her going, oh, I'm not really sure. I could ask her, what are your thoughts around this?
Yeah.
So just slight changes in my questioning could help support her better to get better. I could ask better questions to support her to move forward, quicker and easier, because I could see it from her perspective a lot better. So that was why I sort of thought, and then COVID hit and I was able to do an Enneagram course. Thanks COVID. And look at the positives.
That's not all bad. Yeah.
And I could do a course and I could get accredited in Enneagram. So I thought, this is where I want to be. I want to help people understand themselves better so that they can understand, why they're in their business, what's holding them back.
Yeah.
And then in their life, like, why can't I get my hubby to see why he needs to stack the dishwasher this way? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, he sees it from a different lens. I always like to sort of reference it. It's like looking at a house and you're in one room and someone's in another room. All right, you're looking out one window and you can see a different angle. And they just physically can't see that angle because they're not in the same room as you.
Yeah.
So it gives people that compassion and understanding so that we can come from a place of that rather than the judgment or the, why can't you just see it like I'm seeing it?
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. And I can see how like coaching and the Enneagram just blend so well together. Like just from what you've said there, like I'm like, yes, of course. That makes total sense that you would blend the two of them together.
Yeah, it's just been incredible for my clients just to understand their Enneagram type. And the biggest response that I've got from my clients is someone seeing me.
Yeah.
When they're getting their report and they're going, there's other people like me that have these same feelings. And people are going, oh, I feel like I was the odd one out growing up. And then you've given me this report and you've talked through this type and there's others out there like me.
Yeah. And I guess it's also that relief of, oh, okay, so that's never going to work for me, that thing. Me trying to do it that way is never going to work for me. So I can stop trying to do it that way and do it my way instead. Does that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we have this version of even like success, I think everyone should have their own version, but we have this society of what success looks like. And it's like, well, actually that doesn't work for you. That's actually not your path. You're trying to fit into this box. You're like, I think I need to be this super outgoing, confident, rah, stand up in front of 20,000 people and talk. And you're like, yeah, but that doesn't suit you. And that's okay because that suits that person.
Yeah.
It just wasn't meant for you. And that's okay. So if we can start to embrace what was meant for us, then we can start feeling more easeful in what we're doing. And we don't feel like we're going up pushing a rock up a hill.
Yes.
Going, why isn't this working for me?
So I know you mentioned in your bio that you help business owners and service-based coaches and service-based business owners. As me as a coach, like how would me knowing my Enneagram benefit me as a coach and service-based business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So understanding that as people, we have our own biases. So like I mentioned before, me as a 2, I know I'm high in the feeling, so I'm going to ask feeling-based questions. However, that doesn't always serve my clients. However, understanding what your Enneagram type can really help you connect with your clients by you can sort of see what you're bringing to the table and what your strengths are as well. So for example, I had a client who was a coach and I said, okay, well, what are your strengths? And she couldn't really put the language around it until we put the Enneagram, and she was, say, a 5, for example, and they're really great at strategy and seeing the big picture. And this person was really high in action. Like they're like, yep, go-getters. And they're like, I'm just not attracting go-getters. I'm not attracting clients like this. And I'm like, how are you marketing? And she's like, oh, that I'm a coach and that I do this. And I'm like, yeah, but how are you marketing your strengths as a coach and what you can do? And it's like, if you want people that, you're really great at strategy, like tell people I'm really great at strategy, but I need you to be high in action. I want to go-getter. Like if you're not a go-getter, we're not going to work together. Right. And it's like, so when we start to see those clients come up for us that we're like, oh, we just don't gel very well. It's like, well, do you want to work with high go-getter clients, or are you working with clients that want to build relationships? Or are you working with clients that need more strategy? Or like, what does your client need from you that you can help support them with? And then when we're having discovery calls, we can go, actually, you want relationship support with building relationships. Or you're a real go-getter, that's great, but that's not what I work with. I work with people that want to go deep. And so we can sort of really lean on our strengths. So me as a 2, my strengths are relationships and helping my coaches build those deeper relationships with their clients by seeing what the strengths that they're bringing to the client, and then picking up to what their client's Enneagram type might be. Like, how are they talking? How are they acting? What are they saying? If they're doing like 100 million things, and they're like, okay, what do they need from you? So it's really understanding ourselves at a deeper level. And I think a lot of people talk about, like, we can only meet our clients as deep as we've gone ourselves. And truly understand ourselves.
Yeah. That's amazing. I want to do it. Where do I start? How do people find out about working with you and discovering and understanding their Enneagram?
Yeah, well, I'm on Instagram, so I'm at Samantha_Jane_coach.
Yeah, we'll put that link in the show notes as well.
And I typically work with clients in terms of, I get them to do a questionnaire, which is an adaptive questionnaire, and then that gives me out a report and gives me out your type and all the details. So it's not just your type, because I think I'm the person that likes to go deep with the Enneagram profile. I don't like the surface level stuff because I think there's so much more to people. I think we're not just our type, and we want to have the growth strategies that help support us as individuals, not just as one of the 9 types. And so I get my clients to do a questionnaire, and then we work on going through that and really digging into how your Enneagram type is showing up in your life, in your business, and really start to just bring awareness to it. That's our first step. I think people think, oh, right, I'm going to change. I'm going to learn my Enneagram type, and I'm going to get all these growth strategies, and I'm going to try and change. And really, that's not my aim. My aim is just to bring awareness to start with, because I think that's the first step, is really just really bring awareness to where your Enneagram type is showing up in your life.
Yeah.
And
instead of changing, it's more like just becoming more of who you are, right?
Exactly. And realizing what the masks are that we've been putting on, that we thought we needed to be wearing.
Yeah.
And when we start to learn our Enneagram type, we go, oh, I've got these other things. I don't need to wear these masks anymore.
Yeah.
So I get to work with my clients through that. And I do that on like just a individual. You can learn about your Enneagram type. And then I also have bigger packages where we learn your communication and your coaching style and how you receive and give feedback, because all of those things are really important in business as well.
Yeah, totally.
And then on top of that, I have a bigger package where we actually learn all about your Enneagram type in detail. And then we start to really integrate that into your life and see where that's showing up, and just really looking at the polarities of things, of where are my strengths and where are my limitations? Where is that being a service or a disservice in my life right now?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So can people, like, if people want to, like me, are like so keen to do this work with you, have you got availability coming up? I know it's coming up to Christmas. You might be winding down, but
yeah, I'm having a little bit of time off over Christmas, but fortunately, since opening my books, I've been pretty booked out.
Amazing.
So I'm very, very grateful for all my clients. And yeah, I only have a couple of spaces actually left for January. So I'm just taking waitlist at the moment.
Yep.
Which is exciting. I will have more spaces open more in February, but yeah, I think I only have 2 spaces left in January.
Amazing. And so people can join your waitlist from your Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely. They can come over to my Instagram and join the waitlist, or just DM me and come and have a chat with me and talk through Enneagram and how you think it might help support you. And I'm always up for a chat about Enneagram.
Amazing. It is so interesting. I can't wait to learn more about it.
Thank you.
So just before we finish up, Sam, if someone's out there listening to this amazing podcast episode and they're like, right, no worries, I'm going to work with Sam on the Enneagram, sounds great, but they're still hesitant about signing up to Permission Granted, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's a great question. I would ask them, I suppose, have they thought about like what support they need in 2022? Like, I think it's incredible that we think about our business and what our business needs and our life needs, but personally, like when was the last time you invested in just yourself?
Yeah.
In doing something just for you and investing in the support of being in the room with like-minded women, like we've said, supportive, incredible women that are doing amazing things in their own life and business, and connecting with them. I honestly can't recommend Sam's Permission Granted enough. I just think the long 10-month container of you being supported next year, like think about the subtle little changes that could happen in your life by the end of the year if you got and invested in the right support. And I honestly believe Sam is that just encouragement, kindness, compassion, encouragement bundle of joy. She just truly makes the experience amazing. So I honestly can't recommend it enough. Like we've both been through two lots of Permission Granted. It's that good. We've done it twice. So
yeah, that's true.
That's a testament to Sam's work.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with everything that you've just said there. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Invest in yourself.
What are you waiting for?
Lean into, if you don't feel worthy, send Sam a message or talk to one of us.
Totally.
We're happy to talk through things. But I think if you're feeling resistant, just ask yourself, what could life be like at the end of 2020 if you invested in yourself?
Yeah. And just had like a 10 months of beautiful, like gentle accountability and support, not only of Sam, but of all the women. Like Sam just has this ability to just call amazing, big-hearted, beautiful women into her containers. So not only do you get Sam's amazing support, but you get the support of all the women inside and me. And so, like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I still connect with people, and I know that I'm still going to be connecting with women in Permission Granted in years to come, because we've just all made such a connection. And you can't, you just can't get that anywhere else. So jump in.
Yeah, totally.
Go do it now.
Yeah, jump in, because by the end of the 10 months, you'll be like, why was I even questioning joining? It's the best thing I've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I know sometimes investing in yourself can feel a bit scary, but like you say, we've both done it twice, and we wouldn't hesitate. You won't regret it ever. You don't ever regret investing in yourself and investing in support and getting people around people like Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming and having a chat with me, Sam, about Permission Granted and the Enneagram. So interesting, and I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you this afternoon.
Thank you, Lucy. I'm just super grateful that we've been able to have this conversation, and a huge thanks to Sam for obviously connecting us and allowing me to jump on her podcast as well. So thank you to both of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.